How's everybody doing today? Back again with another video for you guys. And today what I have for you guys is my versus / comparison video between the LG G6 and the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus. Mouthfuls. Anyways, without further ado, let's jump in. So, what I want to do first for you guys is talk about the overall build quality and design between both devices. Let's start off with the LG G6. We're just going to call it the G6 from now on, like a G6. You know what I'm saying? Now, from a build quality and design standpoint, I think LG did a great job with this one. There's no rattling or creaking of any kind. It feels very good. All of the buttons are very tactile and have a nice clicky feedback to them. It's really solid. It has a nice weight in the hands. Not too heavy, not too light. Really good. And that design, that glass and metal design, it's a really eye-catching design, at least in my opinion. So, great job, LG. Great job. Up next, the same can be said of the S6 Edge Plus. Whew, mouthfuls. Again, it has a glass and metal design. Really solid. All the buttons are very tactile and give you a nice reassuring feedback when you click them. Very solid. Really nice weight in the hand. Now this one feels a little bit lighter than the G6, but it's really solid. Feels good. Has a nice solid design to it. So good job, Samsung. So overall, when it comes to the build quality and design standpoint of both of these devices, I have to say it's a tie. It really does come down to personal preference. Maybe you like that flat slab type, that flat slab type person. You know, you don't like them edges. Got your nice flat angles here. Maybe you're somebody who likes that edge to edge curved design. Then maybe you might want to go with this one. But overall, from a build quality and design standpoint, both of these devices are solid. And I had no issues. So kudos Samsung and kudos LG. Moving on, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys are the displays on both of these guys. And then this is also where it's more neck and neck. Now, let's start off with the S6 Edge Plus. Up front, dead center here, you have a 5.7-inch Quad HD display. That's 2560 by 1440. Alright? Quad HD with a screen density of 515. And again, it's a really solid display. It gets very bright outdoors, and I've had no issues with the display, no issues whatsoever. From a day-to-day standpoint, Samsung made a really good display. Good job, Samsung. Good job. Let me dial that back down before it makes my eyes hurt. And that's typically where I keep it, right there. Not bad. So really solid display on this one. And then again, if you guys want to see the numbers, let me pull up the numbers for you guys. I know some of you guys like to see that. So there you go. 5.7 inch Quad HD 1440p by 2560. Screen density 515. There you go, guys. Alright. Now, jumping over to the G6. Right here, we have another Quad HD display. 5.7 inches. This one has a little bit different aspect ratio to it with a 1440 by 2880 resolution and a screen 2880 with a screen density of 564. But again, it's another solid display, guys. It gets very bright outdoors, and I've had no issues with the display, no issues whatsoever. And y'all can see Typically, I keep it at about 31% when I'm in the house, and then I put it at 61 when I go outdoors. But I have no issues with the display, no issues whatsoever, especially when it comes to day-to-day usage. It's a really, really solid display. So again, good job, LG. Good job. Really solid display. And then for you guys who want to see that, let me just pull this up, because the CPU-Z app is tripping. It doesn't show the right numbers, but you can see it right there. 1440 by 2880 with a screen density of 564. So y'all can see right there. But again, overall, when it comes to displays, I'm going to have to call it a tie on this one as well. And really it comes down to personal preference. Which one do you prefer? You want that flat slab, or you want them curved edges? In my opinion, or at least for me, I like that flat slab. The curved edges really do, at least when I'm using it, it looks great, but for me, it causes a lot of false inputs. I'm pulling up my recent apps more often than I want to. I'm closing out of apps by mistake. There's just not much to hold on to with those curved edges. But that's personal preference. Keep in mind, that's just how I feel about it. But in terms of display, I have to call this one a tie. Really, really solid displays on both of these devices. Now, up next thing I want to talk about with you guys is the hardware and the software on both of these devices. And you're going to see a lot of similarities here. I'll start off with the G6. Hardware-wise, this guy has a 5.7-inch Quad HD display. It has a 5-megapixel front-facing camera that can record videos up to 1080p at 30 frames and 720p. Alright, on the back, it has two 13-megapixel cameras, both capable of recording 4K video at 30 frames a second and doing slow motion at 120 frames. I think it's 720p slow motion. One 13-megapixel camera has your regular aspect ratio to it, and the other one is a wide angle lens, and then you have your LED flash right in the middle there. Okay? Other internals include, internally this guy is running 4 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of onboard storage with microSD card expansion. This guy has a 3300 milliamp hour battery in it that's non-removable, so it is what it is. And again, a 5.7-inch Quad HD display. Alright, it also has a fingerprint scanner mounted on the back. Fingerprint scanner is quite solid. Also doubles as your power button. So there you go, and then you turn it off like so. Real nice, real nice. Now, in terms of software, this guy is running Android 7.0 Nougat with LG's custom skin on top. And I really have to say, putting LG skin aside, the software experience on this guy has been very, very fluid and responsive, and I've had no issues, no app slowdowns, no app crashes, no app hiccups. It's been very, very fluid with a bunch of apps open, even on a daily basis. Bunch of apps. It's been a very fluid experience, and LG has a nice assortment of features. In my opinion, they got some nice themes. You could rearrange the buttons. All that good stuff is here. Really, really solid software and hardware on this LG G6. So again, good job LG. I did a solid one with this one. Alright, moving on, let's talk about the S6 Edge Plus. Now, hardware-wise, this guy has 4 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of onboard storage. There's no micro SD card expansion on this guy, and this particular model is available in 32 gigs or 64 gigs. So choose wisely. Internally, it has a 3000 milliamp hour battery. It has a 16 megapixel camera on the back with LED flash. That 16 megapixel camera is capable of recording 4K videos at 30 frames a second and doing slow motion at 120 frames. You do have your heart rate sensor on the back, which is also nice. If you're the type of person that likes to do health stuff and keep track of your heart rates and all that stuff, it's good to have. I don't really use that, so it's just there. Up front, we have, again, a 5.7-inch quad HD display with a screen density, again, of 515. Then we have a 5 megapixel front-facing camera with an LED indicator light and your sensors. And your 5 megapixel camera is capable of recording 2K resolution at 30 frames a second, 1080p, so on and so forth. And I do believe it's capable of recording slow motion as well. Other things, across the bottom here, you have your home/fingerprint button, fingerprint sensor, and your capacitive keys. Alright? Software-wise, you are running Android 7.0 Nougat with TouchWiz UI on top. So you got a bevy of Samsung features. You got your split screen multitasking. You got your Samsung theme engine. You got a bunch of features. In particular with this one, since it's an Edge device, you do have your Edge features. These are just the two that I use the most. So my most used apps and People Edge. But you have a ton of other panels that you can use, and you literally have a ton of features with this guy. And again, in particular, Samsung, at least in my opinion, has a better theme engine than LG, but it's nice that they both have them. Now, putting all the features and all that good stuff aside, when we talk about the software and the fluidity, I would have to say that this is a fluid device. Not as fluid as the LG G6, but fluid. I do get the occasional app slowdown and the occasional app hiccups with a bunch of stuff open in the background, but really that's typical for Samsung devices. We've been having app slowdown and app hiccups since way back. At least for me, I jumped in with the Samsung Galaxy S3, and really with Samsung devices, that tends to happen over time regardless. I don't know what Samsung is doing, but you can get those little hiccups. Best believe 2-3 months down the line, even a few weeks down the line. Once you load it up with all your apps and things, those hiccups and slowdowns, they coming. They coming. It's unavoidable with these Samsung devices. And it's really a pity because these Samsung flagships, they're spec to the gills. And they still have a bunch of slowdown later on in life. Now this one is not as bad because it's running the Exynos, Samsung's in-house processor, the Exynos octa-core processor, the 7420, and the Mali T, I think it's 720 or 740 GPU. So this one's not as bad, but I still do get the occasional app hiccups and app slowdowns. But putting that aside, it's not bad. It doesn't really take away too much from the user experience, but it does happen, so I had to point it out for you guys. So, that being said, y'all probably wondering who won what. Now, hardware-wise, I'd have to say it's a tie. Software-wise, although the feature set between these devices is similar, and Samsung clearly packs in a bunch more features, I have to give the software experience to the LG device. It's just smoother. You don't have any hiccups or app crashes or any app slowdown, no problems, whereas you will get that with Samsung devices over time, and I did get that with the Samsung device. So I have to give the hardware as a tie, the software goes to the G6. Now, keep it moving. Up next, let's talk about the Wi-Fi in these guys. And really, in terms of Wi-Fi, these guys are spec'd out pretty much the same, with the only minor differences being in the actual numbers. But in my experience, at least when it comes to the Wi-Fi, again, this, much like benchmarks, is where numbers are just numbers. In daily usage, I've had no issues with the Wi-Fi or the data speeds on either device. No issues whatsoever. Now, I am getting better numbers overall with the LG device, but that's to be expected considering that it's the newer device with the newer processor in it. This has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 and the Adreno 530, I think it is. So the boosted numbers is to be expected with the newer device, but that being said, overall when it comes to the Wi-Fi, it's been an enjoyable experience with either device when it comes to the Wi-Fi or data performance. Now across the board, both of these guys have Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN and AC dual band Wi-Fi support. So what does that mean in layman's terms? That means you can take advantage of your 2.4 gigahertz band or your 5 gigahertz band wherever applicable. If you have a router at home or at work that supports those bands, then you could take full advantage of it. Now, up next, let's just pull up a little YouTube video so you guys could see the Wi-Fi performance firsthand. Let's pull this up. Don't think I opened that today yet. So let's find some non-copyrighted music here. Go to the Bass Rebel homies. Always got some good hits to bang for you guys. And it's all copyright free, so that's always nice. And let's pull up some Bass Rebels on here as well. And you can see, since they're running Android 7.0 Nougat, a lot of the interfaces for these apps are pretty similar across the board. So, although the skins or UIs are drastically different, with some similarities, at least on an app-to-app daily usage level, it's going to be a very similar experience. So now, let's pull up a video. Let's go here. Go to videos. And what they got new that's popping. Yeah, this will work.
While others just see it as stuff, we see the things you've worked the hardest for.
Alright, and of course I can't skip these ads, so gotta let them play. Alright, so sorry about them ads, guys. Sometimes you can't skip them. Now let's max these out so y'all can hear how both these speakers sound at max volume. Now they're both bottom firing and they're both on the same side. So you guys let me know what you think. Who sounds better? Who sounds clearer? I'm gonna give y'all my opinions, but at the end of the day, y'all can form your own opinions as well. Because my opinions are mine. Everybody's opinion matters and it's different. So it is what it is. Anyways, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, who's going first? Yo, okay. Start off with the S6 Edge Plus. Gonna play the video. Gonna scrub through. And of course, I rolled it to the end by accident. That's that edge-to-edge display, man. This is what I'm telling you guys. Sorry. Enjoy, guys. Sorry. S6 Edge Plus. There you go. G6. Let's go. Did I turn on the There we go. Forgot to turn that off. Oops, my bad. Alright, so there you guys have it. Nice Wi-Fi test, speaker test for you guys. And really, when it comes to the speakers and the immediate performance, it's close, but I think I'm going to have to give the slight edge to the G6. It just sounds clearer overall at max volumes, where the Samsung device, at least in my opinion, distorts a little bit. But overall, when we talk about speaker performance, at least when it comes to consuming media, I have to give the slight edge to the G6. Alright, so let's keep it moving, guys. Up next, this is where I would talk to you guys about the bands supported in these guys. And really, it's a wash between these two. Pretty much all the bands are supported. Keep in mind, there are different models for different carriers, but if you pick up the unlocked versions of each device, you should have no issues with support. Okay? At least in my experience, I have to say the LG supports more bands than the S6 Edge Plus. But again, if you pick these guys up both unlocked, you should have no issues. And just make sure that your carrier supports the LTE bands, and you should be good to go. For more information on either of these devices, please check out the full reviews, which will be linked down below. But in terms of LTE and band support, I'd have to give the slight edge to the G6. But again, overall, you should have no problems with either of these devices. Now, keeping it moving. Up next, the next thing I want to talk about with you guys is the Bluetooth support on these guys. Now, pretty much, again, it's a tie when it comes to the Bluetooth. This one has Bluetooth 4.2 technology. This one has Bluetooth 4.1. And I've had no issues with the Bluetooth on either of these devices. No issues whatsoever. So if you're a big Bluetooth fan like myself, hashtag cableless lifestyle, then you should have no issues with either of these devices when it comes to using the Bluetooth. Now, up next, let's just talk about the GPS performance in these guys. So let me pull that up real fast. Where did I put it? No, I didn't close it, did I? Nah. Because I was taking more screenshots with this one. There we go. There it is. So, sorry about that, guys. Small delay. So, in terms of the GPS in both these devices, really, I could tell you guys I've had no issues with either device when it comes to using anything that needs GPS. Turn-by-turn navigation on both of these devices was a joy, and I had no issues. So if you're directionally challenged like myself, or GPS dependent, like myself, you should have no issues if you pick up either of these devices. So in terms of GPS, I have to say it's a tie. Alright? Next thing I want to talk about with you guys is the speaker call quality and receiver call quality on both of these devices. And again, I have to say it was very close, but I'm going to have to say receiver call quality is a tie. They both get very loud, crisp, and clear, and I've had no issues taking calls with the built-in receivers on either of these devices. The speaker call quality, however, is where it differs. I found that in my testing, I wish that the LG G6 speaker for speaker calls got a tad bit louder, whereas the speaker calls on the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus, the mouthful is on point. So again, receiver calls, tie. Speaker calls, S6 Edge Plus. Alright, let's keep it moving. Up next now, this is where we would talk about the cameras and the camera interfaces. But in the interest of speed, I'm going to just give y'all my opinions. For more information, as always, please be sure to check out the full reviews of both of these devices, which will be linked down below. Now, when it comes to the camera interfaces, I would have to say that both of these camera interfaces on both of these devices are quite good. Now, they're both very fluid, very easy to navigate, not too many settings to throw you off. It's a very good camera interface experience on either of these devices. That being said, I'd have to give the slight advantage to the camera interface to the S6 Edge Plus. It's just easier to use. It's more straightforward. You don't have to jump into too many menus. The only time you jump into a menu that takes you out of the camera is when you got to go in and pick your settings for what megapixel you want to take with photos, what megapixel you want to take with videos, all that good stuff there. But other than that, the overall camera interface is very fluid and very easy to use, and it really was a joy. So I have to give the slight edge in the camera interface department to the S6 Edge Plus. Now, that does not mean by any shape or form that the camera interface on the G6 is bad. I just feel like the camera interface on the S6 Edge Plus is a little bit more straightforward. S6 Edge Plus is a little bit more straightforward and more user-friendly with less of a learning curve. That being said, I just gotta throw this out here. Neither of these camera interfaces are as straightforward and easy to use as the camera interface on the Moto X Pure Edition. It's just not gonna happen. The Moto X Pure Edition camera interface is just super user friendly. It's very easy to pick up and use, and 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get the shot you want. Just had to throw that in there. Sorry, had to throw that in there. Bang. But that being said, when it comes to photo and video quality, I'd have to say it's a tie. Now, both of these cameras have their respective features, and both of these cameras on both of these devices are good as a whole. I mean, you can easily say that LG has the edge with the dual cameras, one of them being wide angle, but you can also say that Samsung also has the edge in focusing speed and the overall punchiness and clearness of their photos, and the fact that they have a built-in live YouTube app. And the same can be said with the LG and all of their features, the square mode and all that good stuff there. So they really go back and forth. But putting that aside, when we go camera for camera, I'm gonna have to say it's a tie. And regardless of which phone you pick up, you're gonna enjoy using the cameras on either of these devices. So camera interfaces, S6 Edge Plus, cameras as a whole, tie. Now, moving on. This is where we would talk about the gaming. And pretty much, toss it out the window. They both work extremely well. They're both gonna chew through any game that you throw at them. Dash it away. It's not gonna hang. They're gonna chew through it like a beast and come back begging for more. Where the next game at? Where the next game at? That's how they're gonna be. So pretty much the gaming experience on both of these devices is a tie. They both handle games like a beast. Like a beast. So, moving on. The next thing I would talk about is benchmarks. But really, in the interest of speed, I'm just going to tell y'all, yes, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 outperforms the Exynos 7420. Okay? Yes, technically, the GPU, the Adreno 530 on the G6 is technically better than the Mali T720 or 740 on the S6 Edge Plus. Okay? Yes, this phone does beat this phone in benchmarks, but y'all already know what I'm gonna say. Yeah, y'all know it's coming. Benchmarks mean absolutely nothing. Dash it away. It's nothing. It's just raw performance numbers, as my battery warning pops up. Just raw performance numbers. What really matters, say it with me, is the overall combination of hardware and software that equals a smooth and fluid user experience, which both of these devices do in spades. The LG G6, again, slightly better than the S6 Edge Plus, but they both of these devices do that